Hey everybody, JJ here, back with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. Uh, Really excited about this call. I had a chance to not only meet this guest speaker a number of times, but we had a great conversation a few days ago when we did the promo. Um, our guest speaker today is out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. And as you probably heard me say many times, Pace Morby is the premier real estate genius on creative financing in the world. I'll say in our country, but that applies to the world. Pace is unbelievable. Step two is Pace Morby's real estate education platform for creative finance, which is the number one real estate education platform in the country, bar none. Today, though, our guest speaker is not Pace Morby. It's one of his young rock stars, a young man who I got a chance to know. He's a father, an entrepreneur, family man. He's a successful entrepreneur. He's become, highly respected within Sub 2. And is my good friend, Mr. Kent Heat. Kent, how you doing, brother?
Yo, what's up, JJ? What's up, everybody? How you doing?
We're doing great, man. Hey, really quick, let's get to talking about you. Um, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
Yeah, that's a great question. I live in San Diego, originally from Boston. I moved out there about 4.5 years ago, spent about a year in LA, but yeah, it's been a hell of a ride and I'm loving real estate. I'm loving life down here in San Diego, dude. It's amazing.
Well, I got family in Boston. Coming from Boston, were you ever a Red Sox fan or go to a Red Sox game at all? Or
Yeah, I've been to a few. I used to work as an EMT, so I got to go to those games.
that's right, we talked about that. Yeah.
So it was good. It was a really, really fun town. And now that you're in San Diego, people want to visit you. So that's the joy of it. I never get homesick because everybody just wants to come out here and hang out with us.
I bet. I bet. So, you're part of Pace's community, which you spoke about. Um, what did you do before real estate? Have you always been in real estate? It's just been a lifelong thing, or you mentioned you had been an EMT at one point in time. What was your path to out of high school, or what was your journey from your teens to now, so to speak? What's been your path?
Yeah, man, great questions. I actually started being EMT, went to EMT school as a high school senior. So that was my college job and did that for about 5 years. After that, I went to work at a firm named PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC for short. I helped multi-billion dollar companies acquire other multi-billion dollar companies and integrate them from like a mergers and acquisitions perspective. I then left that position. I went to help out a family, a restaurant. One of my cousins opened a restaurant, a second one, but they were losing a lot of money. They were losing about $20,000 to $30,000 of cash flow a month. So what I did was I went in there, I turned it around, got them back to break even, and then I was off to my next stint in corporate America after a 2-year hiatus in there. I never made any money. I learned that I would never open a restaurant ever again. And I also learned about all the different ways of how to run a business, but I got a lot of experience out of that. And I gained a lot of confidence in myself because I said if I never ran a restaurant, but I was able to turn one around, and most restaurants fail in this world, probably 95% of them
Yeah.
fail, then I think I'm going to be okay. So that was an amazing experience. I then went to a Fortune 100 insurance company where I worked in the startup arm of their insurance company. I helped them scale from $7.5 million to $80 million in revenue within 4 years. I particularly helped them on the tech side, built up their tech team, worked with a team of about 45 people, three squads, including developers and data scientists. So I think everybody here might have heard the buzzwords like machine learning and AI. I worked in that space. To make it really, really simple, I cleaned up a lot of data for them, built the applications so that when you call into the insurance call agency now, I can calculate how much you are worth from a lifetime value perspective of how much you are worth as a lead. So if you're worth more than X dollars, I'll keep you on the phone so my sales reps can talk to you. If you're worth less, then I kick you off the phone and I just sell you off as a lead to somebody else. I did that for about 4 years. And then my last project there was I helped them develop an app that allowed them to repurpose the mobile check technology and allowed people to get an insurance quote by taking a picture of their odometers. And I launched that app in Brazil, Chile, and Thailand.
Wow.
Long story short, they're probably going to patent it. I'm not going to see any of it. But the silver lining in COVID was I read a lot of books. I learned a lot about short-term rentals. And long story short, I became a millionaire after my first deal because we made about $350,000 on our first deal through short-term rentals. And that's what I'm here for to talk about with this group today. It's not about me, just like JJ was preaching earlier. Today, it's about you guys. I want to make sure I lead with value first. I want all of you guys to leave the Zoom today with the confidence and ability to comp a short-term rental, to accurately guess and estimate how much gross revenue will that property make, so that one, you can not lose money on your deals. Two, share the same exact process with anybody else so you guys can raise private capital. And then three, just absolutely crush it. Like, I want you guys to crush it. So this is what I'm here for today. I don't really want to talk anymore about myself. I just want to lead with value first, man. JJ, what do you think? Can I share my screen or something like that?
I think you can. Let me get in here and allow you that opportunity.
All right, cool. I'm going to take a real live example of one that I was literally looking at just a week ago. This property went pending. So with every single property that people send you guys in sub to, in Facebook groups, whatever it is, the first thing you want to do is obviously look at the photos, try to figure out what's going on with the property. For me, this was an amazing property in San Diego. It had an amazing view with a basketball court, has a pool. I'm starting to generate what am I looking at on this property. So after you get a general gist of the property, the first thing you want to do is go to AirDNA. This is the only data point I use from AirDNA, so you can ignore all the other numbers. I'm pretty sure the rental demand is free. So when I bought my first property, I bought it in Scottsdale, Arizona. So my personal criteria, and you guys will probably develop your own, is I do not look at any properties if the rental demand is less than 60. And here's why. This property I bought when I was in Scottsdale was 66, right around there. The whole justification behind this number is, guess what? If you are able to niche down and really understand your niche, so I'm going to flash our Airbnbs that we have in Scottsdale, Arizona right now. You can tell that they are actually really girly themed. They are bachelorette themed, to be a little bit more specific. But we have makeup bars, we have cute little murals that says she said yes, we said Scottsdale. But by niching down, we're able to outperform the market. And here's what I mean. There's another one too, so you gotta look at it. Similar color, but we really did a play off of the Tiffany blue color, since that's already been associated with luxury. But this is what you're able to do when you guys niche down. We're making $3,000 a weekend. This was Super Bowl weekend, so you ignore that. The $6,000 a weekend, $4,000 a weekend, $4,000 a weekend, $4,000 a weekend. This is per weekend. This is cash in pocket. This is real money. This was life-changing, guys. This property netted us $168,000 last year, and we bought it for $800,000. We put in $126,000 into it, and we got it reappraised at $1.15 million. So we gained an equity of about 350 grand. And then on top of that, we were able to pull back out $250,000. So I was able to repay my private capital partner, who's also been my best friend since 8th grade. And we both became millionaires that day, having both come from low-income housing. So that was amazing. That was a life-changing experience. And that's why I want to share this with you guys. I am not showing you guys these numbers to brag. I honestly wish someone showed me this 5 years ago. That's why I'm showing this to you guys. Who doesn't want a bachelorette home? Like, our guests are amazing. They plan their days outside their home. They don't just like sit around and drink and smoke. They plan their days around. They're super, super gracious. And they're paying like $5,000 a weekend. And you should see the message she sent me last week. She said, thank you for letting us stay in your home, for having one of the best weekends of our lives. How cool is that? How cool is that? So that's what I want to share with you guys. So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to look at rental demand over 60. People send me deals in Lake Tahoe all the time, and that's a terrible market. Let me show you why. Rental demand is only 52, too low for me. When you guys going to be wasting so much time analyzing deals that you're just fighting an uphill battle, right? Let me show you another market just east of San Diego. And La Mesa, the rental demand here is 95. Okay. So I want you guys to see this perspective, because now you know that there are other markets out there. So don't get so stuck on a property in a market where you're going to spend all that money furnishing the property only for you to fight another uphill battle of trying to market people to come to an area where no one even goes to anyways. So why do that to yourself? Don't spend your time doing that. So I wanted to share that with you guys on La Mesa. And one thing I would tell you not to do is if you ever send me a deal using just a rentalizer on AirDNA, don't do that. It's a terrible way to comp because guess what they're going to do? They're going to lump everything together, giving you averages of all the 3 bedrooms, all the 4 bedrooms. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter if there's views, if there's a pool. They're going to lump things together. That's a terrible way to do it. So, number one rule: look for rental demand. Make sure it's greater than 60. Second thing you do: look at your city, your county for your short-term rental regulations. Now, if you're messing with private money, meaning you have investors investing their capital, you should really not go for those markets where they already say it's illegal to do Airbnbs because in a snap of a finger, the city could all of a sudden decide to enforce those short-term rental regulations, and then you would be out of luck. So here's a really good example in San Diego. San Diego passed a law last year where they said we're going to issue about 5,400 licenses out of, and there's about 10,000 Airbnbs. But guess what? Right now in San Diego, there's still 2,000 licenses left where you can buy a property in San Diego and use it as a non-owner occupied Airbnb, which means you don't have to live in the property. When this first came out in November of last year, I obviously didn't risk it because I thought, well, it's a 50-50 odds. Why would I risk my private capitalist money on a 50-50 chance? That seems irresponsible. Then I thought, okay, well, there's 2,000 left. I'm sure people are going to be running now because it's probably going to be first come, first serve. That was not the case. We're in March now and there's just 2,000 left. So I'm amazed by how lazy people are in San Diego. Maybe they just don't care, but I think they're lazy because the same thing happened in Scottsdale where there's about 6,000 Airbnbs in Scottsdale. When they passed this legislation, only about 500 people registered about a week before the deadline. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I don't understand human beings, but if this is one of your biggest investments, you should be fighting to get one of these licenses. If not, everyone on this call, maybe you want to think about getting a property in San Diego because guess what? There is a cap to this. So you would be protected against oversaturation because eventually they're going to enforce it. So one thing for you guys to think about, if you guys want a market to look at, here it is. Okay. So we covered rental demand. And then the second thing we covered was making sure it's legal in your city or your county. There's other counties where like Tampa, Florida, Hillsborough County technically does not allow you to have short-term rentals of stays of 7 days or less. I don't think anybody has ever enforced it, but that's not a chance I'm willing to risk for myself in Tampa, Florida. It's personally your choice. Okay. Third thing I'm going to do. Now, we just looked at this property and we saw, okay, this is 2.165 million. I'm looking for geographically, where is this property? This is right on the east side of San Diego near this little lake. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to pricelabs.co. We're going to go to this market dashboard function. We're going to put in the address, put in like a little a radius to it. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to scroll in. And what you're going to do is what I'm calling is a geographical analysis. What you're really trying to look for here is assess whether or not there's a drop or cliff in terms of revenue as you get further and further away from a destination. So in San Diego, downtown is over here on the bottom left. The beaches are all the way up to the west. And I want to see whether or not I see any properties dropping off. So if you were to look at this map right now, you're going to see right at the bottom of the box, it says $313,000 at the bottom of the box. That's how much PriceLabs thinks this property has made in the last year. And you should only look for properties with at least 10 or 15 reviews or greater, because otherwise the data is chances are it's pretty bad, especially if the numbers are this high. And I'll explain that a little bit more at the very, very end. As you go further and further east, do I see other big numbers here? Like there's a couple of $300,000, $350,000. Like, all right, cool. This is starting to make sense because remember, it correlates with everything you guys have seen so far, right? The rental demand was 95 in this market. So even as I went from west to east, I didn't see a cliff or drop off in revenue. That's why this matters, because you need to prove to yourself, why do these numbers make sense? And now I'm trying to figure out like, well, okay, well, I like to think I have a pretty baller house. Well, does my baller house look like this baller house? And to me, I'm trying to think about like, why is this property making $350,000? Yeah, it's a pretty big backyard. This is water slide in there. So I'm going through this thought process in my head, but at the end of the day, I was like, this is just a big house. There's nothing like truly themed out like you saw in my bachelor at home, nothing truly out designing here. So for me, I'm like, this is an okay comp, but more importantly, what you're trying to do here is develop your rule of thumb, right? like I've been saying from the beginning, you don't want to waste your time over analyzing properties. So in this scenario, I have what I'm calling is a 20% rule. By 20% rule, I mean I don't want to pay more than 5 times the annual gross revenue for my purchase price. So this home, give or take $350,000, I don't want to pay more than $1.75 million for a home that looks like this because of all the underwriting that I've done. I know it probably won't cash flow or it won't get me the yield that I want. And there's a lot of other investors in the world that have a similar rule of thumb. So even if you get a creative finance deal, sometimes Pace Morby teaches us that it's not about the purchase price, it's about what you can do with the property. But if you have private investors with you and you're trying to exit the property in 5 or 10 years and you overpay for the property, other investors will have the same criteria and they will not purchase this property for $2 million because the mortgage and after everything won't make sense. So just be careful about the purchase price, even if it's a creative deal, especially if you have to exit within a certain time frame. So this is the 20% rule. I want to make sure everybody gets that through their knowledge. And then what you're going to come back to here is you're going to go down to the column filters. You're going to put in base gas, bathrooms, listing type, pets allowed, just everybody got a dog during COVID, hot tub, pool, estimated percentage, and estimated revenue. And you are just going to export this. You're going to export this and it's going to look something like this. Let me pull this up right here. I'm going to show you 2 things so you guys can see the beginning and the end. I'm going to show you the end first. For every single market, this is what you're trying to achieve. You are trying to look at, hey, in the Hocking Hills in Ohio, here are all my homes with lake access, lake views, and lakefront. Here are all my traditional homes, which means they have drywalls. Here's all my A-frames. Here's all my log cabins. Because these are the intangibles that are different. I hope you guys are following why it's not good to use the AirDNA rentalizer, because they're lumping everything together. They're lumping all your 4-bedroom drywall homes and all your 4-bedroom log cabins together. They perform wildly different. But here's one scenario. So this is how you become more efficient with your time. Here's a lake house in Hocking Hills. This home makes $90,000 based on the export. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to tell the realtors, Facebook groups, wherever you post looking for deals, say, hey, if you see a home that looks like this in the Hocking Hills by the lake that's lakefront, that's $450,000 to $500,000, please let me know. Otherwise, don't call me, because otherwise you're going to burn a lot of time looking at a lot of deals that probably won't cash flow. And this is how you determine your buy box by market. So continue, right? You guys must see the trend. Not over 60, I'm not looking at it. Not legal, I'm not looking at it. Doesn't pass my 20% rule, I'm not looking at it. So this way you guys don't get burnt out looking at way too many deals when it does not make sense. So that's ultimately what you want to get to. Now, here's what I do for each market, what I used to do personally, and now I have a virtual assistant helping me. I go into the top 100 3 to 4 bedroom. This is the Nashville market, okay? Everything that is to the left that's not highlighted at the top, that's just a simple export from PriceLabs, just what I showed you. You can download it, no problem. Then what I did was I had my virtual assistant go into each listing. And they will go down to the bottom of the page on Airbnb's listing and tell me what the closest neighborhood name is. So in this case, it's Fisk and Meharry. Then what she would do is come in here, look at the reviews, and she does a keyword search. She looks for the word family. She looks for the word bachelorette. She looks for the word girls. She looks for the word location. What do you have now? You now have the top 100 listings in Nashville. You have all the neighborhoods of where all these properties are located. You have exactly how often is the word location mentioned in the reviews. And now that's your cheat code. You no longer have an excuse to not buy in a market because you don't know where the property should be and where you should buy. Because in general, the word location has a positive correlation in the review. Most of the times, people will say this location was great, this location was awesome. Cool. You associate with the neighborhood, and now you know where to buy in Nashville. Cool. Now, even better, how do you decide what niche do you go for? If you look at the bottom of the sheet on the bottom right, it says 372 times. That's how many times the word family was mentioned. Look at how many times the word bachelorette, girls mentioned, 705 times. This is the majority of the drivers of revenue in Nashville. And guess what? There's only 10 bachelorette themed Airbnbs in Nashville. You know why? Because everybody was scared of niching down and saying, I don't want to alienate against families. When in fact, if you looked at this data, you would actually be catering to the majority in this population. And this will apply in any other market. If you find that it's very heavily family, you have to lean into it. You have to put children's playground in there. In mountain markets, it's properties with children. If they have a separate playroom so that adults and kids can play separately and hang out separately, that performs wildly better. If you have a pack and play, you have a stroller, those family rentals perform better because they lean into it and they really took advantage of being the best family property in there or being the best bachelorette listing. When I first did this in Scottsdale, I did it completely manually on myself because I was so scared. I tell everybody this story all the time. I was nauseous. I was throwing up the first day I signed that deal. But in Scottsdale, it was about 40% of the reviews said bachelorettes. This is almost double. So what I'm planning to do is take what I'm doing in Scottsdale and then transferring that strategy over to Nashville. And you guys might be thinking like, oh, why am I telling you this? Like, you guys going to compete with me? Dude, there's plenty for everybody. And I hope you guys make a lot of money with this and we just become really, really good friends and just come up to me and say, yo, I made a lot of money in Nashville. That'd be really cool. But please apply the strategy towards all the other markets that you are looking at so you can show people, one, why are you buying in this neighborhood? And why are you deciding to theme it out the property? Because I've had plenty of people that laughed at me in the beginning and say, you're going to make a bachelorette house? Like, what if the girls don't show up? Look at the data. Don't base off of emotion. Don't base it off of anecdotal evidence or somebody that says like, hey, I had a great girls trip. Look at the data and then actually decide based off that. If it was anything less than like 30%, like there's no way I would do a bachelorette home. The demand is just not high enough. Okay. So here's just to recap for everybody where we're at right now. We looked at rental demand. We looked at legal. We looked at looking at the 20% rule so you can quickly roll off properties. And then we also have had a rundown of all the properties in each market and you figure out how to do your niche in each market. Here's the thing. So here's what we've done so far. With Price Labs, with AirDNA, we've only looked at historical data. Anybody scared of the recession? I am. I'm a little scared of the recession. So guess what? We need to look at the future data. So here's a tool for you guys to use. This tool is called RankBreeze, RankBreeze.com. With RankBreeze, I use it for 3 reasons. The first one is to track my progress of where I am ranked on Airbnb search results. I'm sure you guys probably know, no one ever wants to go to page 5 on the search results on Google. Same thing for Airbnb. You got to play around with it. You got to mess around with it, try to get as high as possible. It's probably took me a year before I got to page 2 or page 3 consistently. You play with your collage photos, or your cover photo, I mean, and you play with your listing title until you get to a point where you actually see consistent progress over time of being ranked higher. As your product gets more booked, you do sink a little bit because obviously, if you don't have any openings, they're going to deprioritize you, right? Just common sense there. But in the beginning, you want to be as high as possible. Second thing I do, I use it to price against my competitors. If you use Price Labs or any other pricing service, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be comparing your 4-bedroom property against all other 4-bedroom properties. That's not what you want to do. You want to compare yourself against other similar themed properties with similar amenities. Meaning if your property has a pool and you have views, that's what you want to go after. If you are a bachelorette themed property, you want to compare it against a bachelorette themed home. So I might be looking at my property and I'm like, hey, I booked out for $1,388 this weekend for a night. Let me look at a 5-bedroom property. But if all of a sudden they were like $1,200 a night, I might say, let me go lower my property's average nightly rate because everybody shops for value, right? Wouldn't you rather get a 5-bedroom property for cheaper than a 4-bedroom property? Similar thought on a 3-bedroom property. Let's say you're scared of recession and you don't want to be empty during a recession. So you're looking at a 3-bedroom bachelor home and say, well, they're booked for $1,400 a night. Well, let me actually lower it a little bit, $1,300, $1,388, whatever it might be. But I want my home to be booked first because I'm scared of recession. And if anybody's looking at it, they're probably going to book my 4-bedroom property as a bachelor themed and has a bigger backyard and has a pool compared to the 3-bedroom property. Just common sense, like the Starbucks example, tall, grande, venti. You just want to be right in the middle so people shop for value. Finally, here's the third thing that I do. I use it to underwrite. And here's what I mean. Anywhere that you see the blue bubble on the screen, that's a night it's been booked for. Anywhere you see a number below it, that's a rate it's been booked for. So I'm looking at this property right here. This is a great example, one of the only few bachelorette Airbnbs in Nashville, Tennessee. And look at what they're being booked out at. $2,000 a night, $3,000 a night, $3,000 a night, $2,500 a night, $4,000 a night, $4,000 a night. How would you guys like to make $4,000 a night sitting at home? Pretty cool, right? So now what I have done to myself, one, I have saw that bachelorettes are being booked out into the future. I saw in the reviews, so I'm proving to myself, yes, not only are there a lot of bachelorettes in the reviews, but there's also a demand for this type of home. So even as I scroll out into the future, I'm still seeing tons of bookings. If you look at any other market, sometimes like the non-themed homes will probably be actually empty. They probably won't be booked yet because sometimes if I would flip the way I would say this, that means at some point someone said, let me book this home before someone books it and it becomes too late for my group to book it. So that will apply to any market that's not to be bachelor theme. It might be like a boho chic vibe, whatever it is. This is how you decide on your renovation approach and your theming approach for whatever market you're in. Take the top performers, plug them in this calendar and look into the future and see what they're making. So now I can go in here and was like, okay, this is a high performing kitchen. I don't need to over renovate, guys. I can just take this picture and say, hey, Mr. Designer, Mr. Contractor, this is good enough for a high performer. Please follow this approach. So now you guys don't have to overthink it. You don't have to ask your girlfriend or your wife's advice for it. Use the data and support your decision based off of that. Now, here's one really, really important tip of why you need to look at the calendars, okay? If you look at this property, this is the very, very high performing property. This is an 8-bedroom listing, okay? But that's because it's a combination listing of 2 attached townhomes side by side. That's made out of this one and made out of this one. Here's the problem with Price Labs and AirDNA. Let me see if I can find a good example. This is a good example. So this line right here on my top cursor, that's the 8-bedroom listing. The 2 4-bedroom listings are at the bottom. However, when one 4-bedroom listing gets booked, it blocks off the 8-bedroom listing. So now in Price Labs, it thinks this entire weekend was booked at this rate, when in fact it was not booked at that rate. It was only blocked off because it was blocked off as a 4-bedroom unit. So now it's overinflating that number if you were to just pull the revenue for just that listing. So if you guys were to ever see another deal, have somebody ever send you another deal and be like, look at this comp, make sure they go through the calendars and actually show you that they've looked at these numbers to justify the rent. So if you're thinking, I'm going to book my home out for $1,000 a night, there better be bookings for $1,000 a night into the future. Here's another good example if I put this up. This was a ugly bachelorette listing that I think I showed earlier. In my opinion, it's super, super tacky. I think we can come in here and crush it. The joke I tell everybody all the time is like, it's got some serial killer vibes here with the cutout magazine letters on the wall. Not my thing, but I think it's super, super tacky. I don't really like it. But look at the calendars. They're completely booked. Wow, that's crazy. But as you go further and further out on this calendar listing, look at what they did. They have blocked up every single Wednesday, because they're trying to force Thursday through Sunday night bookings, whatever. They're trying to get the highest average nightly rates. However, this is the problem. If you use AirDNA, if you use those standard typical pricing algorithms, they're going to flow in there as revenue. And on the data sheet earlier, it said this home was making, let's see, $275,000. I know for a fact that is overstated. And if I underwrite this property at $275,000, I'm definitely going to lose money. So right then and there, because you saw this, you better reduce the gross revenue by about $52,000, assuming $1,000 a night. I hope this one just saved you guys a lot of money because I see so many people making this mistake. It's absolutely crazy. And I know this because I came from a data background, so I recognize bad data. But AirDNA and Price Labs, all these services, they have no idea what's a real booking and what's a fake booking. But you can use your common sense and think about who really just books a Wednesday night booking. No way. Who does that? No way. It's not the common thing. So that is another step I wanted to talk through you guys. So now, guess what you guys are equipped with? You guys now know how to look at rental demand to quickly rule out a property. Don't don't buy in a place where it's illegal if you do so. Use a 20% rule to quickly rule out any properties. Maybe you want to do 15%. That's okay because maybe you really love going to this vacation area or whatnot. That's completely your choice. But in general, if your exit is trying to sell the property at some point and not just for personal enjoyment, use the 20% rule because that's what most investors use. Then you also learn how to niche down. You learn how to find which neighborhood to buy. And you also know how to look into the future to look at historical data, future data to determine one, your renovation approach, and two, whether or not it's actually a market where there is demand in that market for you to buy. Don't fight the uphill battle. And that's one of the final things I want to say. I know we're almost at time, but this is where I'll pause for questions because I have a Excel spreadsheet that you guys can use and send out. It's basically how I present deals and offers and stuff like that. I got my own summary. I got my best and high case scenarios. I got my cash on cash return. I can send this out to you guys. I can share this with JJ as well. I know we're getting closer to time, but let me pause here because what's going to be really, really important is you guys learn how to rehab your renovations. I got line item by line item on how to estimate rehabs. And then I also have line item by line item how you estimate cleaning fees, pool servicing, and all that stuff. So feel free to use it, have fun with it. But let me pause there and just take some questions because, again, this is about you guys. This is not about me or JJ.
I'll tell you, Kent, man, that was crazy, crazy informative. Guys, I'm going to tell you, you want to get a hold of Kent. One, he's got his number up, or actually, he's got his Instagram up, but you'll get a hold of him on the call today. As far as through Facebook, we'll go over that after the recording. Cecilia, you are on with Kent He. What's your question?
Hey, Kent He, thanks for dropping all those beautiful jewels. That's awesome. I live in San Diego too, and when you were showing like the total number of units still available for Airbnb, something like 2,000 plus. Do you know if that's just the city of San Diego or the entirety, like the entire county of San Diego?
Remind me, does San Diego County include like Encinitas or anything like that? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
it sure does. Like the
okay,
whole
so
coast up to
just San Diego.
Camp
Just San
Pendleton.
Diego. Just
Okay,
San
just
Diego
San
because
Diego.
Encinitas has their own regulations along with Oceanside. So yeah.
Got it.
Correct. Great question.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, Matthew, you are on with Kent He. What's your question?
Yeah, so Kent, obviously, personally, I don't have the liquidity to afford AirDNA at the moment. So I was wondering, how would you go about comping out an Airbnb potential property for me if you
Price
didn't
Labs
have?
is $10. You can do $10.
Okay, I could do $10.
Yeah, Price Labs is $10. So AirDNA is an enterprise license. And to be honest with you, when I first had AirDNA and I checked those numbers against the Bachelorette listings, completely off. I'm not saying they haven't improved over time. It's been about a year and a half, but I personally like Price Labs code better. And I get to just select a 50-mile radius. And even if you do 50 miles and it's a couple thousand listings, like $20. So spend the money and don't say you don't have liquidity. That's my same mindset I used to have. Guess what? You now know can prove to someone. If you just follow exactly what I did do, please do it. Please learn it. Just go show people, show family and friends.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they'll be like, wow, dude, Matthew knows what a deal looks like. So next time he brings me a deal, I'm going to invest with him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Noted.
Same for everybody on the call. There's no excuse. Seriously. If someone recognizes a good deal, they will fund it. You just got to convince them. And you got to pay for the data to convince yourself first before you can convince somebody else.
Yeah, that's the first step. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but my just real estate journey has been a whole lot of ride. So just figuring it out along the way. I appreciate your support, Kent. JJ, thank you for the meeting, man. Thank you guys for inviting all of us and putting on so much value. Really appreciate it.
I'll tell you, Matt, Matt, stay in touch with me, brother, and we'll get you on a consistent path surrounded by the right people.
Thank you, brother. I'm definitely going to. I'm not in your Facebook group right now, but literally as soon as the meeting ends, that's my plan.
Yeah, just make sure you send me a Facebook message. I think you're on my friends list. If you're
Yes,
not,
sir.
make sure you are. I can add you to the group right now.
Sweet.
But everything we do in this group, Kent and I were the same mindset about helping other people. So thank you for being here. Text me after the call. Let's follow up, okay? Follow up is everything. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ken. So good to see you. And every time I
Yeah.
talk to you or listen to you, just freaking, I'm just my mind's blown.
Oh,
Just
stop.
letting you
Thank
know.
you. Thank you. I'm just trying to help.
No, it's amazing. Well, I was just wondering, and I don't know if it, I know this is a short-term rental Zoom, but I was just wondering if any of these metrics can be applicable towards, let's say, a midterm rental strategy. Have you kind of explored that? Just because a lot of people are apprehensive about the short-term rental market and are thinking about going into the midterm rental space. So I was just wondering if any of the data or the metrics that you've used can potentially be applied towards that.
Yeah, I mean, the metrics there, how I would adjust my way for midterm rentals is one, I think you already know about Furnished Finder, so that's one great way to just look at midterm rentals. However, if I were to reshift that focus, what I would do is just simply look at the 20% rule again to see what the cash and cash return might look like. And you would probably, the way I comp is like, I look for different categories, right? I look for homes with views, homes with pools, etc. You should be looking at every single city and thinking about where am all my midterm rentals on Furnished Finder, and then also where are my Airbnb properties within this neighborhood, or where are all my properties that are 5 miles from the hospital, as an example for a midterm rental. The principle is still the same. You still have to categorize it, because when you present to somebody, they're going to be like, well, show me another comp that's 5 miles from the hospital. Same concept. It will still apply to there. But I personally don't have that rule of thumb for you, because not for a midterm rental. I'm not the expert there. I won't claim to be. I am always a proponent of, I don't believe in having an exit strategy where if it doesn't cash flow as a long-term rental, then I won't buy as a short-term rental. Because if I did that, I would never have the success I've had. But my advice for everyone on the call is to play to win. And that's why you have to lean all the way in. Don't just put one foot in and like just half-ass it. If you know the market is bachelorettes, or the market is family, you got to go all the way in and stand out. Otherwise, what's the point? There's going to be so much supply coming into the market, and you're just going to get all that margin pressure, and that's just going to suck away all your profits as more people enter the market with these cookie cutter Airbnbs. This is your time to stand out now. Build that listing up, build a review status up, so that when people coming in, they are going to have a way harder time trying to catch up with you in terms of the stability and the reputation you're listing. So I'm sure that will probably apply for midterm rentals, but you probably won't get as many reviews on a midterm rental space.
Yeah, I mean, so unfortunately, there just isn't a whole lot of metrics when it comes to the midterm rental space. So, we're still using Mashvisor to help, and Price Labs to help comp as well. But we have 3 running in Indianapolis right now, and just the demand is overwhelming. So we are definitely gaining some traction out there and learning the midterm market really well, and hopefully apply what we're learning based on that into other markets as well in the future.
I mean, you're taking a lot of leadership in the midterm rental space. You should just start your own data company for midterm rentals. Go work with ALE Solutions, ask them to give you the data, and then your value proposition is to share that data with the other companies so that they all collaborate, and then you get to be the hub of it. I don't know how hard that is, but that's something I would sign up. And I know a lot of people in the insurance space does that as well. They share their data with everybody else, and they all share this database, so they kind of know like who had a claim with whichever insurance company. You just got to make the offer so good that they can't resist. That's really
okay. Great idea. Yeah, we'll definitely have another conversation with you about that.
Cool. Have fun. Thanks for the question.
Mr. Kwesi Amankwa, how are you? Mr. Williams, sir.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it,
on with
JJ.
Ken He. What's your question?
Yeah, so he was showing those charts, the Excel charts. I wanted to see where I can get those from, or do I have to create something myself in general based on what he was talking about from
Those
earlier,
Excel
from
sheets,
examples? Yes, sir.
You can just export them from you can just export them from Price Labs. Simple. Pick all those. I'm sure JJ will have a replay, but pick all the same filters that I showed you and just export them. And then everything else that I did in the next like highlighted columns that I showed, they were just columns I put in manually. You're going to look at every single market differently. So what I showed you was in Nashville, I looked for how many times the word bachelorette is mentioned. If you're in a mountain market, you might look for how many times is the word skiing mentioned, right?
Makes
If you're in a
sense.
city market, you might look for how many times the word downtown or walking or walkable is mentioned, because you need to figure out whether or not you really need to be within walking distance, or can you be successful being a 7 to 10 minute Uber ride away. Don't guess. Look at the data and figure out whether or not you need to be walking distance or not in a market. That's super, super important.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense because when I used to live in San Diego, when bachelorettes were going out, when I used to work in the industry as a security guard, there'd be a lot of bachelorettes parties around. And they were asked questions like, "Where you guys coming from? The hotel over here is only a 10-block radius, or it was right down the street." So
Yeah.
obviously they want to be super close to where the action is. So it makes sense. So if it's not there downtown, if you can get a space where it's theme party bachelorette, if it's not too far out, they're willing to go there because
Yeah.
they can do all the things that they do, not be hindered with the hotel policies if they kind of have more bit of freedom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've looked at bachelorettes in San Diego. I did not see an overwhelming sort of demand for it. Nothing close to Scottsdale, nothing close to Nashville. So I personally would not do a bachelorette home in San Diego. I might do more of a luxury family vibe, but then I might have those beauty bars too, but make it more farmhouse vibe. So that's a vibe I would go for in San Diego personally. But at the end of the day, in San Diego, what you want is a backyard that's facing south or west with a sunset view. If you don't have that, it's a difference of about $70,000 in gross revenue. Huge, huge difference. So don't rationalize to yourself like, oh, this could probably make it work. No, look at the data. Data says south-facing backyard or west-facing backyard only in San Diego with a pool on a cliff somewhere. You need it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just talking about back in the day in general when
Got
it's
it.
like years ago, not today's data. Thank you so much, Kent.
No problem, buddy.
Thank you, JJ, as well.
Question Monqua, thank you so much, my friend. We have this Saturday's guest speaker with us right now, Mr. Alex Rabin. You are on with Ken Hewitt. Alex, what's your question?
Kent, question. So first of all, thank you so much for the dropping all this amazing data, and
No
thank
problem.
you, JJ, and Kent, of course. Kent, so how all this Excels that you showed us applicable for arbitrage?
How applicable is it for arbitrage?
Yeah. Like if like I have an Airbnb in Florida I'm running, but now I'm looking more into the arbitrage rather than buying, do arbitrage.
Okay.
So same way you look at it, or you have any tips for arbitrage, or you never done arbitrage?
Same way for arbitrage, correct? Because what's most important to you is the gross revenue number, right? So what you're gonna want to do is do the same thing, comp the same thing. Especially you're in Florida, you should be comping like distance from the beach, whether or not there's ocean views, whether or not you're close to a downtown or right. Because I hate when people send me deals where it's like oceanfront versus not oceanfront, and they just lump everything together. It ruins your credibility. So for me, I don't do arbitrage because you might have seen my properties earlier. I put so much money into theming out the properties. And if my landlord saw me how much I was making, he's going to raise the rents on me. There's no way. Like he's going to raise the rents on me. And that's going to erode my margins all again. And all of the stuff that I have spent on the property that I can't take with me, the murals, the painting, the theming, that's all going to be gone. So I don't like arbitrage. And I would just challenge you to think about it, right? If you just take what I just showed you just now and you offer equity to a partner to invest with you, wouldn't that be a better deal? I feel like people arbitrage when you don't have enough money. But if you put yourself out there and actually show that you know how to recognize a deal, then you will find the money. The money will find you. Arbitrage is a way to do it if you can't find money. In my opinion.
I agree with you, but I have it's not a good example because I have one of the properties that I bought for season. It was more seasonal, so I can't talk short term. So let's forget about it. Yes.
Understood.
Another question. So I see also big deviation. Actually, I posted in the sub 2 group question. That there is a big deviation in what RDNA, Rabu, and Meshwise are showing. For the rent. Deviation of 50%. So What's going on? Like, as I understand it, you spend some time, looking at the data and exploring all this.
Well, it's that same exact example I showed you earlier, right? When you saw me show that calendar where all the Wednesdays were blocked off, that goes in as revenue. And guess what?
No, no,
AirDNA, Data Rabu, and Price Labs, they all ping these listings on different days. So that's why you get so much variance.
yeah, but 50%, like some of the properties you see occupancy, I see one place, like 45, then I see like 70, or I see the revenue, like 50 versus like a 90 or something, So, but anyway, so I guess it's pulling up data, but it's so off. So, even taking an average, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just, a little bit puzzled,
Are you
like
looking at properties with greater than 15 reviews that at least had been online for a year?
No, I'm taking. I took addresses, from Zillow, and I was running, like to see, if it makes sense. What's the revenue on the other three platforms, and everything was so off. That's why I'm kind of okay. So with whom do I go? With what data source is the
You
more?
don't go with any of them. You don't go with any of them. You go with the way I just showed you how to comp.
Okay, so to go from Airbnb itself, yes, like all the
Go to
listings.
Price Labs. Go to Price Labs. Go pull down all those listings, and then compare apples to apples, and make sure you're only putting listings with 15 reviews or greater, and you're looking at rank briefs to make sure the calendar is legit. And looking at well into advance, because you only need about 3 to 5, like really, really good comps that you really, really believe in that look a lot like your property, or at least looks like the property that you're going to furnish your property to make it look like.
Okay. I understand.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Ken.
No problem. No problem.
Alex, good to see you. Talk to you tonight. Hey, Ben, you are on with the great Kent He. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, bud. It was a pleasure speaking to you the other day, JJ. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys putting this on. Kent, what's up? Just wanted to say thank you. This was very, very informative, man. Appreciate you taking the time to go ahead and provide this information to us.
No problem. It's all about you guys.
If people want to get a hold of you, Kent, what's the best way for them to reach us? LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, MySpace.
Yeah, no, please. I mean, guys, if this was helpful to you guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's where I share a lot of information about affordable housing. At the end of the day, I want to become known as the affordable housing guy, not the bachelor theme guy. I mean, I'm a first generation Chinese immigrant, and I saw what having a safe and clean home can do for families and children like myself. And I'll tell you guys one story. Like, I was looking for stories, and I was asking my parents about when they were coming over from China. And my mom told me my dad came over with $1,000. And one of my first jobs that my mom was doing was making $3 an hour. One night, our home was burglarized, and she lost about $5,000 that she had in cash that night because she was getting ready to bring it to China. It's like, have you ever felt like everything was going for the right way, but then like it just gets all taken away from you? Like, can you imagine losing 1 full year for salary? Because that's what happened to them. And they were saving for over a year. But the things I learned about them, like the resiliency that you see, like that's what I learned from it. Everything bad can happen to a family, but it's about how you deal with it. So at the end of the day, that's what drove my parents to continue on, was the hope. They were on the affordable housing wait list for 7 years. 7 years, that's a long time, but that gave them hope. And that's what affordable housing does for a family. And that's why I'm on a mission now to build the biggest affordable housing investment community in the United States. And I really hope you guys would join me in that journey, because I want to remove the fear out of investing in affordable housing so that everybody can learn, contractors, how to screen tenants, how to work with the housing authority, anything that's stopping you from investing in affordable housing. That's what I care about. So I hope you guys, when you guys think about JJ's message of leading with value, you can lead with value now. I, for the longest time, didn't know. And I started just teaching people how to underwrite short-term rentals. You guys can lead with value now. Just say, hey, if you ever need help underwriting short-term rentals, let me know. People will jump all over that. It takes like hours to do it properly. If any of you guys ever ask me to comp a property, I can't do it for you in 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I cannot look it quick, because that would not be doing my reputation correctly, because I just showed you my entire process. It took me 45 minutes just to talk about it, let alone do it. But if you show that's the level of detail you guys look at, so many people will pay attention to you, and you guys will raise private capital. So stop thinking from a mindset that you don't have money. just go show people how you look at deals, how you can recognize the deal, make a lot of money, and then let's go out on some affordable housing deals so we can really change lives of the thousands of children over time. And you can be the inspiration, you can be the hope in their lives. So thank you. Thank you for the time today, JJ. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me your time, everybody, for connecting with me.
We do have one more question. I'm not going to cut the gentleman off, but man, thank you so much. Gold nuggets. Everybody, and I shared your YouTube there for quite a while. Everybody, please subscribe to his YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube right now, please subscribe to Kent's YouTube. We're gonna bring in my good friend really quick, Mr. Gerald McCulley. Gerald, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch bases on the affordable housing and was wondering if Kent was actually expanding it into the Mississippi market too, because I live in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm originally from Yazoo City, Mississippi, which was named one of the number 2 worst cities to live in probably about 2-3 years ago. So that's one of my big passions too, and one of the main reasons that I got into real estate investing. Let me turn my camera on. So yeah, I just wanted to know what type of expansion that he's looking to do down here in the Mississippi market, and if there's any way I can help, I'd love to be a part of that joining with you.
Oh yeah, dude. Just message you. DM me afterwards. Right now I'm looking at the St. Louis market, the Detroit market. I'm actually going to visit those markets this weekend to build out our teams there. So that's my goal right now. I have not looked at the Mississippi. At the end of the day, where we're going to be successful is if we have people in every single city so we can get this wait list down everywhere. Because right now in San Diego, man, wait list is 12 to 15 years. It's like, can you imagine being a single mom? Like with kids trying to get out of the hood, trying to get out of the ghetto? 12 to 15 years. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
That's not acceptable. And guess what? Generational wealth does not last more than 3 generations. So how do you help so many people so that you know someone's going to pay it forward to your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids where you're not there anymore? That's the only way I'm going to be at peace when my time comes. So that's why I'm doing affordable housing. It's not about how much money you make, because if you help enough people, look, wealth will come. You want to be a billionaire? Help 1 billion people. You don't think they'll each give you $1?
Hey, Zig Ziglar say that he's actually from Yazoo City, Mississippi.
Yeah, Gerald, before we cut away from you, connect with me. Let me help you to build relationships with people like Kent and people like Kent. Let me show you how to market yourself, build your business, build your base, build your network. That's going to be the fundamental foundation of the growth of your business. So let me help you, okay? Guys, if you don't have it already, this is Kent's Instagram, Invest with Kent He. And if you just put it in the search bar, guys, you just put in Kent He, and he will pop up right there, Invest with Kent He. I just want to thank all you guys for being on the call today. If you are watching on YouTube right now, please like the video. Please put comments in about the gold nuggets you picked up from Mr. Kent He himself. You can follow Kent on YouTube, follow him on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, jj.azizian. I've got my website, jjazizian.com. Look for more videos coming up on Flip Side Up with JJ. And reach out to me. Let me help you build your network. Let me help you market yourself. Let me help you in creating your brand. Everybody hang tight, because we're going to go to the breakout rooms. And the number of people on the calls has increased greatly from the time we started. So I'm pretty excited about that.